Hello, my name's Tom Kyle. It's Saturday, the 24th of the 5th, 2014. I'm making a video about Bill Maloney, or Bill Baloney, and how it's become increasingly obvious that he's not what he seems, and he's a traitor. He's obviously been a plant from day one, and this all becomes very, very clear. Just quickly go over what he's actually meant to be doing. He's meant to be an anti-child abduction, institutional child campaigner. Right, so for start off, he's a caricature of the working classes, as he always says, right? And he claims to be from South London, and maybe he is. I'm not saying he isn't from South London, but the point is, he puts on this overly thick accent, which some people occasionally have, but normally the people who have this accent are actually putting it on. I'm from Medway Towns, and Medway Towns sometimes speak in a similar kind of very thick accent way, but they don't. It's generally, some people are born like that, and some people, but it's generally not the case that grown-up adults speak like that if they've, been around the block of it and been to different places. They generally drop it. It's not really natural. It takes more effort to speak like that. So you might say you're not really cutting corners. So he's always going on about having to use bad language. Another one. And it takes up quite a lot of the time every time he interviews someone. Before and afterwards, he'll just go on about bad language and stuff. He gets in people's faces, and he's kind of like obnoxious. I wouldn't say aggressive, but he's just like annoying. That's how I describe it. It's annoying. It's totally inappropriate. Right now, recently, he's actually scared Nick Clegg, who's our Deputy Prime Minister in England, away from a press conference. Now, this is clearly a contrived incident to give him some cover. So this is one of the important things you've got to remember. The idea that he's getting cover and he's getting cover from the Prime Minister. I mean, obviously the Prime Minister Deputy Prime Minister is always up to some kind of psychological operation, but generally you wouldn't mix them up on camera with one of the low-level operatives like Bill Maloney. So it just shows how important it is. Now, you can remember, Bill Maloney's things is paedophiles, accusing people of being paedophiles and exposing them, apparently. Now, Nick Clegg, his mentor was Leon Britton, who's apparently a paedophile, I keep being told, and a very nasty, wasn't just a little bit of touching people on the outsides of their trousers either. Apparently he was raping children in boys' homes, and also like strangling them to death until they almost choked and then resuscitating them again. That's what the rumour is. He's an old man now. He'll probably be dead soon, so probably they think he won't sue anyone, so he'll just be one they'll throw off the bus. Now, he was Nick Clegg's mentor. Before that, Nick Clegg went to this school. I forget which school it was. It was one of those ones for like public school sodomites where they all get abused by the teachers. And no surprise, one of them's been caught abusing the kids, and he knew Nick Clegg very well. Nick Clegg didn't know anything about it. Nick Clegg also apparently didn't know anything about Leon Britton, and he apparently also didn't know anything about this other guy called Steve Smith, who was an extremely fat guy who was he was way before my time. But the thing with this, what do you call it? The big fat one, Steve Smith. There's been things on the TV and stuff about him and being accused of being a paedophile. So how on earth he couldn't have known anything about it recently? Nick Clegg's a complete liar. So there's something going on there. Maybe they're trying to kick Nick Clegg off the bus, or maybe it's just another way of linking this Bill Baloney to Nick Clegg, so then they can just wash the whole lot of everybody who looks at paedophiles down the drain. Now, so that little bit aside, a little while ago, maybe 18 months ago, maybe 2 years ago, could be longer, there was this demonstration about the Pope was coming or something to England, and this Bill Maloney went up and he started basically pestering this priest and going, "Can you tell me about abuse in the church?" Kept pestering him. The guy was like, "Yeah, well, it was a big problem, yeah. What can I say? What exactly would you like to know about it?" That was his attitude. He would have given the guy an interview. He just kept trying to push him, annoy him. Quite possibly the priest was in on it as well, I don't know. But the point was the priest didn't put a foot wrong. Bill Maloney was just being a complete cunt, as he's reported to always be. He always is like this. There's been another instance, though, right? And this is where you should really focus your gaze. So you've got Nick Clegg. Nick Clegg, the chance of him not knowing that Leon Britton and, what's the other big fat fucking Cyril Smith weren't paedophiles is zero. It's less than 0.1001% or something like that. It's way beyond reasonable doubt. So Nick Clegg is definitely a paedophile protector. But then, if he's in Parliament, obviously he is. But the point is, like, he obviously is. We can actually prove it with empirical evidence. Now, this is where it gets interesting. The same day as Bill Maloney was pestering the priest, right, he also went up to this guy called Peter Tatchell. Right now, before I go on to this any further, Peter Tatchell, before I go on to the Peter Tatchell bit, just rewind for a minute. Bill Maloney, I've accused him in the past because he will never actually get back to you when you ask him about it. He calls everyone a paedophile, even if they've actually abused a 19-year-old or something. Now, a paedophile is someone who abuses someone who's like 11 or something like that. Now, I can understand if they're underage, quite underage, say they're paedophile or whatever, child sex abuse. I can understand where it's easy just to hang the pedo hook on it. But Bill Maloney completely takes the piss, and he hangs the pedo label on people who are actually over the age of consent. So it's nothing to do with their actual sexual maturity and whether they look old enough or whatever. It's nothing to do with that. He just calls anyone it. So anyone who's a predatory, evil sex attacker or alleged evil predatory sex attacker, he calls them a pedo. Now, that's the big thing with him. And considering he's meant to be a kind of campaigner, you'd think that he'd be very, very tight on his language. He wouldn't call someone a gay paedophile or a straight paedophile. He'd be like they were a heterosexual who used to also like to abuse young boys, but not young girls of the ages of this or that. And of course, there's actual words for these categories, which I don't actually remember off the top of my head. But there is words, for people who like adolescence and pre-adolescence and all that type of stuff. But he won't go near that. And if he's meant to know what he's talking about, he would have the self-respect to take a bit of time, learn the language, and be able to explain the difference, because you don't want to be lumping it all into the same thing. And from day one, I thought this was an accident that he was doing, and I contacted him numerous times, numerous emails I sent to him, never heard a single thing back from him. Now, Peter Tatchell, is it Peter Tatchell? His name's Tatchell anyway. He is went up to him after he'd been, or maybe before he'd been pestering this priest, and he said to him, "Oh, yeah. And he was all sort of yeah, you're gay, yeah, that's fine, yeah, whatever." The point is, Peter Tatchell isn't gay. He's someone who wants to lower the age of consent. So, there's Bill Maloney wanting to accuse everybody of being paedophiles, even if they're above 18, the victims, or the alleged victims. And then there's this Tatchell wants to go around trying it on with little children at sweet shops. So, why is Bill Maloney going, what a great guy? Why is he doing that? It's because he's trying to pull the paedophile age limit down and the age consent down and the paedophile normalisation. Bill Maloney, without any doubt, as I said, I used to just think he was just an imbecile. That's why I was doing it. Without any doubt, he is a pro-paedophile agent. That's what he's doing. I don't know who he's doing it for, but the fact Nick Clegg's involved with it means it'll be a communistic. It won't be it won't be anti-communistic. And of course, because the country at the minute is run by generally paedophiles and Jews, it's going to be a Jewish agenda, isn't it? So that doesn't mean it's necessarily an Israeli agenda, but it's going to be part of the same old, but with the new nasty communistic destroy society twist, which is attached to it. Like the Bolshevik communist takeover, or the Jews who were taking over Germany and declared war on Germany, incidentally. Before Adolf Hitler, got into the World War II. There's the same people. This is the people who are behind him. So I don't exactly know which particular group it is, but all of these people will have sympathies for it because Nick Clegg has gone along with it. Lots of newsreaders reported this story on the news. And you can see them smirking, the cheeky cunts, man. They know it's false news. They think you're stupid, and Bill Maloney, not to be trusted, worse than not to be trusted. He's actually trying to get the age of consent lowered. You can bet your bottom dollar on it. And he's also trying to blur the line so that people will say paedophile in 2 or 3 years' time, and it'll be just the same as saying pervert. Of course, the word pervert used to be a word you couldn't use against someone or it would be absolute shock horror. Now it's nothing to say it. There's even been a clothesline over 15 years ago that said pervert on the front of all the clothes. I've been Tom Cahill. It's the 24th of May 2014, and you can get me on T0NCAHILL on Skype, or the same T0NCAHILL at hotmail.com. I'd enjoy to hear what your comments are. Thank you very much. Bye bye.